Good evening and welcome to the special committee of the whole meeting, December the 3rd, 2025. It is exactly 6 o'clock and I call this meeting to order. Mayor McKay, could you kindly read the land acknowledgement?
Certainly. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to acknowledge Wolfville is situated in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and as such ask that we conduct our business with the 7 sacred teachings in mind: truth, honesty, love, courage, respect, wisdom, and humility.
Thank you. And at this time, I am going to pass the chair over to Mayor McKay for this meeting.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You have an agenda circulated before you, CAO. There's no additions.
There's no additions or changes.
Then the agenda will be approved as circulated. And at this time, we'll have the declarations of conflict of interest. Is there anyone at the table who has a conflict of interest to declare? Seeing none, we'll move on to public input. And I'll read the rules of engagement for public input. Please note, this is a reminder to all speakers that the town conducts its business with the 7 sacred teachings in mind: truth, honesty, love, courage, respect, wisdom, and humility. Members of the public participating in public input sessions will conduct themselves in a manner that is respectful to the public, council, and staff. Should this not occur, the chair will advise them to end their questions or comments immediately. You have 5 minutes to provide your input and to be directed to the chair, and responses will be provided after the meeting via email or in person and may be included in a future report. Any input that relates to personnel, current or potential litigation issues, or planning issues for which a public hearing has already occurred, but no decision made by council, will not be responded to. Do we have anyone who is interested in addressing council and public input? If so, you can go to the mic and say your name and your address. Yeah. No, if there's anyone from public input, you can go now. Yep, now's your time. Okay. Well,
Hi, I think I know most of you here. I'm Kevin Gildart. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the person responsible for the big green box down the street.
Sorry, sir, if you can use the mic.
Into the mic? Sure, thank you.
thanks.
I'd just like to address the big green box for a second. You will see a transformation in the next 30 to 45 days, and I promise you, the building will look amazing as we put siding on it, and it will be an incredible addition to the town when we install our living wall systems. It's going to take about 2 years for that wall to fully infill. But when I take a look at some of the things that the town stands for: sun, soil, healthy, environmental, and so on, I believe everybody in this room will be very happy with the living wall and the building in general. I sent a note out today. I have hard copies of it here that looks a little prettier. It's on letterhead and so on. I'll leave those. But I would like to make what I think is a couple of simple points. And my simple points are this: in my experience in this room and in dealing with planning staff, I've been treated fairly. Item number 1. I think you've got competent and capable planners. I really do. And you can thank the competent, capable planners for encouraging me, and that's a euphemism, to invest in green walls on each side of the building. You can thank them for encouraging me to build what I think will be an amazing courtyard that's public amenity space for the town. And so when I say you should thank them, there's no question that it was an arm wrestle. And I think that the parties both felt that they achieved what they were trying to. I know one of the things you're talking about tonight is density and downtown density. I'm happy to be in this house. I don't sit at your table when it comes to vote, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. So very simply, in my mind, downtown density makes perfect sense. Now, when I define perfect sense, it has to be sensitive to surroundings. It has to be sensitive to needs. It has to tie in to, let's call it development economics. I put a little example in there. If anybody wants to refute those numbers, I'll gladly open up our books, but I assure you that the fixed cost of elevator security, whether it's a 3-story building or a 6-story building, those fixed costs have to be absorbed. And if they're not absorbed over density, it translates into higher rent factors. It's really just that simple an equation. The other point about density as seen through my lens is I believe it addresses some, I'll call it core needs, core objectives within the town. If I was to open up, if that's my phone, I'll apologize. Somebody can jump on it. If I was to address core needs, we've talked about traffic congestion, we've talked about parking. The people who are moving into latitude 45 are either going from 2-family cars to 1 or 1 car to 0. The reward of downtown density is taking traffic off the street.
You have a minute remaining, sir.
Okay, secondary reward, if I was to concise it, is it's good for the merchants. People who can walk to your business are better customers. End of story. The final point I'll make, and I admit I was wrong on this one. We built 3 barrier-free units because code required it. And I was told by people I would die with those units being empty. I was wrong. Those 3 units are occupied, subscribed. And I spoke to the people who are moving in there. I speak to anybody who comes to latitude 45 and I ask them, what's your motivation for coming and looking at a suite? So the answer to the people who are looking for barrier-free units is that they say that for the first time in their life, they can come out a front door in a wheelchair and take themselves to a coffee shop. Very powerful to me. And I apologize for that. I have a Downs cousin, I have a handicapped uncle. And if we are going to make a contribution to the town, it's to assist people who have mobility issues to go to a coffee shop, go to a pub, go to the dentist, go to the grocery store without having to call a friend on a phone and say, can you pick me up and take me downtown? Can you take me for groceries? I think if ever there was a place for some allowable density monitored by your competent, capable planning staff, it's downtown in this town.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Your
you.
times.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Good.
John McKay. I didn't quite hear your introduction, but I just want to say one thing. In the time you roll me out of order, I'll be done.
Yeah.
I just want to say the town has never looked prettier, never looked nicer at Christmas time. Compliments to all those involved.
Thank you.
I just want to say that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Our public works staff and park staff do a wonderful job of making us look prettier. Is there anyone online, Laura? Thank you. Great. So Director Lake is going to, and Jacob are going to walk us through some slides. They're similar to the package that you've received. And if you've called in your package, there's little boxes at the end of every topic. So Director Lake and Jake will run through them kind of high level. And then afterwards, we're going to go back through those slides and have some discussion, decisions, kick back for information to the team, and then move it forward from there. So I will turn it over to Devin to walk us through the slides.
Laura, do you want to, if I share, will I be able to kind of go between these PDFs? Or
Do you know what one you want to do first?
the PowerPoint or the presentation one?
Yeah, so if you flick between each of these, I think they will share. Let me just page this for you. So they're all open up there.
I think we're good. Okay, thank you. So my name's Devin Lake. I'm the Director of Planning and Public Works. I'm here with Jacob Ritchie from Fathom Studios. So they've been supporting us on this work, and we've been supported by a number of other consultants as we've worked through this for the last couple of years. I do want to also acknowledge Lindsay Slade, who's our community planner in the back, who's put a tremendous amount of work into this file. And Mark Fredericks is also here. He's our senior planner, who's also been working on this. So this has been a team effort. But as the mayor said, I'm just going to go through somewhat quickly to kind of show you what we have here. And then we can go back and we'll go through each issue, essentially. So tonight's meeting, council is considering a recommendation from the planning committee, and I'll show that list. That takes the form of a list of areas or issues that they requested council to take a closer look at. And coming out of the Planning Advisory Committee recommendation, we did formulate this report and provided a number of suggestions, primarily with the overall structure of the regulation. So that comes in the form of the zoning map. It's much easier for staff and the consultants to put together the documents when we kind of agree on the spatial structure. So that comes in the zoning map. And I think we've reduced the amount of change being introduced to the community while still meeting our half commitments. I have to use this, I think. Yeah, so just process forward and where we've been. So before that top left box, there is a lot of other boxes and process that we've gone through, but just in the very recent past, we did have a PAC meeting. We're here, as I said, considering that recommendation tonight. We do have the ability to bring anything we don't cover this evening to council on December 16th. And the goal really is to have enough direction for staff and the consultants to finalize these documents. And so we have, I think, a fairly robust draft of the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw, but it needs to reflect where council wants to go. So we're here to listen tonight to really try to get where council wants us to land. It'll take us probably until late January or early February, and we'll bring those documents back and hope to set up an interactive meeting where we can go through key issues especially, but really hit on everything that we potentially missed or things that are coming out of tonight that may require a bit more thought. So I'm here now, staff and consultants. We would then do some final revisions on the documents. We would then bring what would be considered the final documents into council for first reading. And that's really showing council's intent that they're happy with where we've landed, and we would notify the community about a public hearing and schedule that meeting. So that would come in the form of a letter to every home in the community. And then some of these dates are a little bit tentative at this point, but we would then schedule the public hearing sometime probably in February or March. And then after the public hearing, council would consider adopting the documents and potentially adopting the documents subject to certain changes they would want to make before they're adopted. So that just puts us here sort of late March and April for a provincial review, and we're anticipating that in the spring we would have documents back from the province, and we would be using those documents, administering those to receive applications. So just to be really clear on what and how we hope to go through this tonight, we hope to, as staff sitting at the table and Jacob here supporting us, to not do that much talking. To be honest, we're going to run through this pretty quickly. And we hope to listen to council and hear where things are landing. I have an asterisk there because I'm not sure it's going to be necessary to formulate a motion different than this. I think this motion may work for us with the notes and the sort of, hopefully there's some level of consensus on issues. And if there isn't, then we will modify the motion. I'm just suggesting that we're going to take notes and really try to capture things and circle around each one. I'm just showing our half action plan commitments here. I won't read them all, but having met with CMHC, having worked on this for a couple of years, I think we're going to be fine to meet these. There's a lot of different ways to meet these. There's a lot of levels of change on each one of these issues. And obviously there's some minimums, but I think we're steering towards this not being not met. So this is just the PAC motion again, and just so we say it at this meeting as well. PAC feedback is certainly one input into council's decision, but council is looking at many different areas. We're showing some of them in this diagram on the right, and staff are here to try to support council, really trying to support a lot of those different boxes for council making the best decision that they can. So I'll get into the material now. So what we did provide in the package are 3 separate zoning maps. So this is the zoning map that we administer today. And it doesn't have all the categories on it. I'm just really trying to show you visually that we went from this to something that I think we heard was maybe too much, even in the names that we were using. So we changed the names, we went away from numbers. And I think it was hard for people to understand. And we heard that loud and clear. And so we tried to respond with something that is very similar. If you just look at a glance, it's very similar to what we're administering today, with some key changes that we'll outline as we go through here. And really, I think the biggest change we can make is through how we are taking in applications, whether that's through as of right development, through site plan, and really creating clear requirements in the documents so everyone kind of has their expectations in the right place when something is changing in their neighborhood. So what I'll do is just show you kind of how each of these are set up, and there's maybe 20 of these, but I'll try to just take a couple seconds on each. So in the R1, this responds to that first PAC recommendation to look at areas of the zoning that may require change. And so we're going through each zone. So what we're asking council on R1 is direction on specific conditions that could be worked into the next version. In R2, we're asking for a similar bit of feedback, but also just introducing this again. So we had gone away from an R2 zone really, and we're trying to make it more similar to what exists today. And we'll dive into the rest of the content on these slides. I'm not trying to graze over it. R3 is similar, but it's kind of tied up with what we had presented as the RM zone. So the R3 and what is existing as R4 kind of come in the form of an ask for feedback around splitting them, responding to some of the transitions between zones. And also we would like to highlight and hopefully can get into some showing some mapping around very specific areas that are both R4 and now in the R3 zone in the newest proposal. The R5 zone is really a larger apartment building zoning category. It's fairly limited in the town, and there was only one change made to this in the proposed map. So this one might not be as in depth, but there is a change there, and we would like to clarify that. The mixed use zone, this one, just to be really honest, I think did cause some confusion because we were combining what was a C4 zone at one point, a C2 zone, and a newer mixed use zone that we introduced in the East End secondary plan. So this one still does some of that, but we've tried to create more clarity around what can be done, what type of approval would be appropriate, and just try to recognize that a lot of what would be happening in this zone is probably expansion of existing uses that exist today on these sites. The downtown zone at PAC, this is more talking about the boundary of the downtown zone. It wasn't recommended to carry forward. We just have it in here because there is some overlay mapping. Some of council has not been as involved as those on PAC. So I think it's important to understand both the expanded boundary from what exists today, but also some of the overlay zones that we're showing on the rail line on East Main Street, in the area south of Main Street, and just to deal with the home hardware site as kind of its own unique area. We included this in the report, but just it is adjacent to commercial uses. Most of the commercial use in the town will be in that downtown zone we just showed, but we did have extensive discussion, brought a few different options through this process on how we were going to deal with neighborhood commercial uses. And we have shown an approach. So we do want to confirm that tonight and land on that. The I-2 zone is essentially Acadia University. And so again, just clarifying, this didn't or hasn't caused a significant amount of discussion, but there may be more interest now that we're at the council table. Building height, I think this is worth stopping and talking about. We could even open the report and get into some of the other diagrams that we've shown. But there's a bit of a change here in approach, significant amount of feedback on this issue. So I know council wants to get this right. For the parking requirements, again, this at the planning committee level, this didn't garner a significant amount of feedback, but there were issues raised around accessible parking requirements. What you see on the right of this slide is just the accessible parking stall requirements that live in the building code. And so I think it's important, particularly with the change that we're proposing, to kind of go through in detail what the approach would be when we're looking at an application, because it's not just there isn't a parking requirement. There are still standards, particularly for certain uses, that we just want to make clear this evening. This zoning transition areas, this was an area that PAC wanted to look at. I think all of those zones we're going to go through are addressing this. We can stop on this again, but really this is just a summation of bringing forward a revised map with more zones that create more of a buffer between potential highest use in a zone, so that you don't have something that isn't transitioning from a lower density. The design guidelines as well, the recommendation really just focuses here on the discussion around applying the design guidelines outside of the area that you see on this map. This has been the design guidelines area going back many years, since the 90s. So this isn't changing in any significant way, but I think the desire is to have, for certain buildings of a certain size or certain projects, the design guidelines apply. There's heritage discussion, certainly through our heritage rep on the Planning Advisory Committee. It was very well articulated, some of the needs, long-standing discussions that we've had in this room. So we have a discussion here. Site plan approval and process issues that we want to touch on. This was a smaller issue, but we certainly want to be respectful to all issues that were brought up. So just going over some of the lighting concerns that were there. View corridors, non-market housing, and the approach that is within really the municipal planning strategy. A few notes about the municipal planning strategy. This is wrapping up. And just some reiteration around the approach that we're taking, although it's different, and the different versions that we've brought forward, staff have really tried to bring all of the versions into compliance with the commitments under our Housing Accelerator Fund Action Plan. And I believe that we can do that regardless of change that's introduced this evening. And I'll just show you some of the extra slides so you know what we have at our fingertips. We do have some more details on the rail line. I expected this to be a discussion. We do have some larger imagery around commercial uses, and we have some use tables that may be of interest. So I think I'll hand it back to the chair and we could go back to the R1 zone if that's where you'd like to start.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go zone by zone and get some input and some direction back to staff so we can have some documents we want to see again. So R1, what the first box says, council should provide direction to staff on specific conditions that can be worked into the next version of the planning documents. So R1 is as of right now as 1 unit, and the proposed is 1 unit plus an ADU as of right, and the other two site plan development don't apply. So it can either be 2 units inside your house or 1 inside and 1 as an accessory dwelling unit. Initial feedback on that?
I think we did talk about R1 kind of in depth as soon as this came out and you had the different names for the zones. And so we did cut back. So I think council, we've talked about it enough, has felt that the 1 unit is fine. I guess my question is that 1 unit, if it's exterior ADU, is that a 40% of the size of the house, or what is the size of the house? And did we decide on the number of rooms if it's inside and outside?
The draft documents currently, Jacob might want to add to this, but I believe has a 2-bedroom limit. But this is the type of feedback that we're really looking for.
Yeah.
Is to sort of dial in some of those conditions. And so, places have 50% of the main unit, places have 40%. And that is a decision point, certainly that we should talk about.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
what about the stories? Is that 2 stories or 3? Did we talk,
For the accessory dwelling
yeah,
unit?
yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. Is that written down anywhere? Just so I can throw it out there so we can discuss it.
It is 2. Yep, correct.
Stories and maximum 2-bedroom. Okay.
Maximum 2? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Councilor Plum, do you have a question?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
When it comes to the auxiliary dwelling unit, like separate building, I don't really have a problem. You want to put a basement apartment, I can certainly live with that. But if you're going to build a accessory unit, how are we going to control what that looks like and we don't get some god awful thing that looks really bad in the neighborhood that the neighbors are all going to hate? How are we going to control that?
So if someone wanted to build a garage in our design guidelines areas, we would control that through having a complementary look and feel of that building. And we do that. Our development officer does that with accessory buildings. In other areas, we don't have as much control, and that's some of the design guidelines discussion that's been had is, and I think that's been a major concern, is what are these things going to look like?
I think I'd add just for council, if someone were to come into any zone and tear down and build an as of right building, we have we don't have a ton of control over materials and design. We have scale, height, width, lot coverage, like a bylaw controls a lot of those things, but the aesthetics of a building really are less controlled. And the aesthetic that you have in your neighborhood is defined mostly by when the buildings were built. And newer neighborhoods have a different aesthetic than older buildings, and new builds in old neighborhoods often have a different aesthetic. So there's a minimal amount of control that a land use bylaw can have over those things. And we don't get in Canada a lot of land use bylaws in residential areas going into picking materials, window sizes, color of the drapes type issues. We do tend to allow the free market and the individual preference of a landowner to have some sway over the design of a building. So there is a reality there that even in your neighborhood today, someone could buy the house next to you, tear it down and build something that you don't personally like the aesthetic of. So just put it out there that there is a lack of control in land use bylaw on the visual appearance of buildings.
Councillor Williams?
Yeah, have you been able to estimate the number of existing R1 or proposed R1 lots that actually could accommodate an accessory building?
So we have brought average square footage of R1 lots. They're very large, and so many could. And then there's some that, because of what they have built out on the properties currently, and that you can't put these in the front yard, they would be very limited. And there are some properties where the home is very set back, so it wouldn't limit an addition onto the front of their house, which is a possibility as well. So there's almost too many iterations between addition, which would serve essentially as, it could serve the same. A small addition could act as almost what an accessory dwelling unit could. So there's certainly some that are kind of, the lot is fully built out, but no, we don't have an exact number.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott?
I know I've raised this before, but I want to keep hammering at the environmental concern I have around flooding. So does the mapping look at where it would be a bad idea to put a secondary unit?
I think in terms of flooding and what we do on our properties, when we build something, we change the way stormwater runs off the top and how it seeps into the ground. Part of the reason you limit the size of your accessory dwelling unit is to limit that. Your lot coverage in most of your R1 lots is about 10 to 20%. So if you think that the accessory dwelling unit can't be any more than 40% of the original building, we aren't really taking up a lot of the permeable land on our R1 lots in Wolfville. So yes, there is an impact. Yes, if it's done incorrectly, you're going to have issues with really overland water. But you do have a stormwater guideline that needs to be followed when people apply for permit. And your planning staff does review the impacts, and it has to be submitted as part of the application that you would need a plan for stormwater. So each one would be analyzed against the local impacts. But part of that lot coverage issue is to make sure there's enough permeable land to soak up rainwater and snow, right?
I have a list of conditions if I can read those. Is everybody okay with that? For whether it's inside or outside the house, the property must be owner occupied. I would only like to see 1-bedroom suite, not 2. I think the size of the suite inside the house should have a percentage. I'm not saying exactly what that percentage should be, but it shouldn't be 50. It's not a duplex. It's a suite inside your home, not 2 separate dwellings. That parking must be on the property. It can't rely on on-street parking. I'd like to see it only be allowed on sidewalks, where we have sidewalks on our streets, to promote active transportation, which is one of our core values that we're working on. I'm curious if we want to have drawings of what the accessory dwellings look like. I know the county does that now. Is that something we would like to entertain? And for the size of the accessory dwelling unit, I think buffering is important. So I think we have it at 3 meters, which is about 10 feet, which may be okay. I'm not 100% sure if that's enough or not. But what I want to also consider is when that the outside lighting of that accessory dwelling unit is appropriate for the neighbors, and that the windows, if it is 2 stories, are not looking into each other's backyards or into, I think that's invasive to those who already live there. I have the same runoff concerns that Councillor Elliott has for those social impacts that could happen to our neighbors. And that's the list I have. Sorry, it was long.
Can you clarify something for me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you just clarify the drawings that you're talking about?
So Director Lake might be able to say with those more, but I saw, I think the county has put out, at least at 2 iterations, trying to encourage people to build accessory dwelling units. And they already have plans, so you can choose the plans that from what they have. So basically, they're already pre-approved plans that are put out there. I'm not sure if that's something we want to do or not, but not that I particularly love their plans, but they would make them, it would at least alleviate the question I think that you had, Councillor Palmer, of what could be approved or not, with some, some style variations that we could agree on. So anyone have any feedback? Deputy Mayor.
So I've written everything down that you just said, so I'm okay with the parking. The sidewalks, I don't have a strong opinion on that one way or the other, but that's fine. The buffering, I agree with that. I'm more in favor of a 2-bedroom, and I say that because I think what's going to happen is some people are going to do a 1-bedroom and a den, because and then to say how much can you control inside their house, that's dictating what you're going to do in somebody's house. And if it's a bungalow and they have sort of it already outlined for an apartment and they just have to put a kitchen in, it could be the exact same size as upstairs. So I'm not in favor of limiting what people can do inside their homes. And the 2-bedroom, again, you could do a 1-bedroom plus a den, and then that bedroom isn't really considered a bedroom, but somebody may put somebody in there. And I don't know if it's really the size that's mattering. Like if it's 800 square feet and it's a 2-bedroom, it could be 900 square feet and be a 1-bedroom. So the sizes inside, I don't really want to dictate. I don't want to see going more than 2 bedrooms though. The outside lights, I'm assuming that the person living in the house is probably not going to want to build something that's facing, and they'll build something that's to their lifestyle. So, but I agree with that one. But the main thing for me is I would prefer to not dictate what people are going to do. It's more like the size for me than dictating what you're going to do in the parameters inside.
Can I ask a question then? So size, you mean by size, you don't, the size of, so let's talk about accessory dwelling unit. So the size of an accessory dwelling unit, if it's 40% of your existing house, it could be the size, some people's house, that'd be the size of my house.
Could be, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
well, that's now an R4 then. Like that becomes a whole different, that's not an R2 or not an R1. That's a big.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I agree with you on the size. Like, if you have a 4,000 square foot home, your accessory unit is now a house at 2,000 square feet, right? Like, if that's the parameters that you're saying, that to me is not an accessory unit. An accessory unit is your old, like, I'm not good, is.
Like a granny suite.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to say, but I
yeah.
didn't want to say it, is more like a granny suite to not use proper language. And so that to me is a house, like a 2,000 square feet. So I would be happy to set up parameters for an ADU. But again, like if you're going to say it's 800 square feet is the maximum, like I'm just throwing that out there, then it doesn't matter if it's a 1 or 2 bedroom, because you can have a very large 1 bedroom or a very small 2 bedroom. And I just look at myself, if I did that on my property and I wanted to move out there, my husband and I are used to space. I might not use that for a bedroom. I might want it as my craft room or something. So I would need to have another room. So that's my fight against why I would want to have not just 1 bedroom.
I will say we've seen in a lot of jurisdictions, we've linked this in this draft to 40% of the main building as a number that relates, so that bigger buildings on bigger properties could have bigger accessory. You can limit it to 1,000 square feet, 1,100, 900 square feet. That's a very acceptable bylaw control that's very easy to regulate. And it would give you more certainty that you're going to get more repeatability in the types of buildings you get. Like you say, this is a footprint number. I'm not sure there's many 4,000 square foot single family homes on one level in Wolfville, but I get your point. Like the bigger houses will have bigger units. But you can limit that square footage in a real number, not a percentage. And that'll give you a little more certainty that whatever gets built, regardless of the aesthetic, is going to have a max size, even on larger lots.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Just to, when you said 4,000 square feet on the main level, I was thinking when you're doing the square footage, it's the main and the upper.
No.
Are you just talking about
main level.
50% of one level, the
Well,
main level?
building footprint is.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
gotcha.
just,
Okay,
40% of the building footprint was used because it relates to the stormwater and the impervious surface more than it does the living space.
yeah,
yeah.
so then to my point of 4,000 square feet, maybe it's 2,000 square
Yeah.
feet, so half of that is 1,000. Is
Which
that?
is still a home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
That's
but
my
but I
house.
think but I still think that we thought it was the whole square footage of the
Yeah,
house.
no, it's
That's
good to
why.
get clarity.
Yeah.
And that does speak to Councillor Elliott's point. It is about stormwater runoff and impervious surface and lot coverage. Lot coverage is an important control in low density residential zones to keep the character of your neighborhood.
Councillor Williams.
I would remind you that if you have an accessory building with a driveway, then you immediately produce a lot more impermeable surface.
Mhm. Okay, I lost my. Oh, sorry, Councillor Palmer.
So let's just talk about stormwater for a second. So since we live on a hill and I lived in a different municipality here several years ago, and my lovely neighbor went and made a nice little ditch across his property, and the water ran into my property. And basically that municipality says, well, you know, he lives up the hill, that water's run down. Now, once he gets it off his property, it's your responsibility. Is that still a fact? And it would be certainly in Councillor Elliott's neighborhood up there, everybody, if you started living up there, if that's the case, I'm not sure that's still the case. That would have been best part of 30 years ago when I had my issue. I don't know if that's still a fact or not.
Yeah, you're referring to someone intentionally directing stormwater onto someone else's property? Yeah, we have been involved in issues like that before. So, I mean, 30 years ago, yeah, sometimes it is more of a civil matter between the owners. There's a lot of different situations where the town may not go and enforce something, but we would encourage them to either talk to their neighbor, because it could be just, we've seen like really egregious, directing of roof leaders, for instance, straight into someone's basement almost. Things like that. And so, yeah, we're aware. There's many that we've dealt with, and some of them we are involved in, and some of them we're not as involved in.
And I think there's a few things in the bylaw I want to point you guys towards. There is a maximum to the amount of impervious surface you're allowed on any residential lot, and it's 50%. That's driveway and building combined. So even with the 40% accessory dwelling unit and your building and your lot coverage maximum that you have for your building, there's an additional control on impervious surfaces in the bylaw and the lot grading section. So we are conscious, and we're conscious of this when we wrote the bylaw. So these controls stack on one another. And when you're reading the residential zone and you see that 40%, you think about a large footprint building, that 40% isn't a given if you exceed your lot coverage or you exceed your impervious surfaces. So there are other controls in the bylaw, because we do care greatly that people aren't affecting their neighbors like they were 30 years ago in your case. And then there's other pieces in here that Mark and Marcia and the team would regulate against in reviewing an application for the types of changes that are happening have to be described. So you see these the changes to the grades that happen, and you're not allowed to build driveways within a 3-meter buffer on the edge of the properties in a lot of the transition zones. So we're conscious that those impervious surfaces are going to be built, but you build them in places where there's less likelihood that they impact your neighbors. So there are considerations in there. It's just layered in, and it's the other sections of the bylaw where we have the lot grading standards and we have the other details, and they apply to all residential, all mixed use, and all downtown lots as well.
Councillor Elliott.
This is an additional thought due to the weather today. I was looking out my window this afternoon, and we have a portion of our driveway that's made of little bricks. And the neighbor across the street has an asphalt driveway. And his driveway had this much snow sitting on it, and ours was just wet. And I thought, wow, that is the way to go. And I know there's been lots of discussions around planning issues before in terms of permeable parking and driveways. And is that built in? Is that a given today?
It's within our, so we have a newer set of stormwater management guidelines that we're trying to better build into this and have, you know, frankly, a more stringent approach to this. So I should say we're hearing you loud and clear on the stormwater, and it's certainly something that this section that Jacob's referencing would have a bit more in it, but also when someone's coming in and they want to understand what it's going to take to do something like this, it needs to be really clear what we require for drawings, who has to sign off on things, and what the responsibility is on the homeowner to do this. Can I ask just a couple clarifying points?
Yep.
So what did I have here? So I just want to be able to bring you back something that is reflective of this discussion. So the sidewalks, where we're moving with sort of traffic calming a lot of the north-south streets, a lot of those are R1, certainly in the west end. And then in the east end, this first round wouldn't include those. But when you say sidewalks, would you include that traffic calming, or do you mean like a concrete sidewalk?
I meant a concrete sidewalk.
Okay. I'd have to look at a map, but there's a lot of R1 streets that have no sidewalk. I think it would take out. Do you know offhand? It would take out most of it, I think. We can bring that back.
It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to run through two. So does everyone agree with owner occupied? Which? Sidewalk? Yes, go ahead.
So I just, so we go ahead and I take my house and I put my auxiliary dwelling unit on it today. And my son moves in, everybody, we live happily ever after, but eventually we don't live, right? So how do we control that next generation? That's going to be the question. Or that's if for that, for what you're saying for an owner occupied, the next generation now is going to change hands, and we're going to tell those people the same thing. That so it's going to have a suite. So now I'm a single guy. I want to buy a house. This house has got an auxiliary dwelling unit on it. So what? It has to be empty. Is that what you're implying?
I mean that if I put an accessory dwelling unit in my backyard, I must live in the house.
Yeah.
I can rent it to whoever I want in the back. No, but if I sell it, then Jen buys it. You live in it. And they can rent out the back, but whoever is renting the space has to live on the property.
Yeah.
So that it's not two renters and becomes, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So do we have buy-in on owner occupied?
Yes.
Can I just add one other one to that? So this is for our development officer. So if someone were to come in and build a new accessory dwelling unit, that provision is pretty straightforward. We would say, you're going to live there. We would get some proof of that.
Yeah.
It's that, so once we get down the road, they're occupying, everyone has the right to rent their home. And they don't come to us and ask if they can rent their home. So that would be, just to be clear of how that type of thing would be enforced, that would have to be basically a complaint-based sort of reactive type piece, because we just don't know, right?
Mhm.
There's too many properties, and there's many single-family homes that are being rented. So yeah, that's the biggest one. Do you have anything else on that? I think there was. Okay, that was the main one we just wanted to highlight.
But everyone who builds an accessory dwelling unit knows that it has to be owner occupied. And if you decide to rent out your house while you're gone and the accessory dwelling unit, you're breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
And then what?
Well, then we'd have to
So-
decide what's the, and what.
Well, and I think if you think about your community right now, you don't actually know the tenure of everyone you interact with in your neighborhood. I don't know if my neighbors own their house or rent it personally. You may know that about many of your neighbors right now, if you've lived in your neighborhood a long time, but that changes over time. And a lot of the conversation we've had at PAC was about the changing character when you have renters versus the owners. If the person who's renting that house and you don't know it doesn't cause you a reason to complain, you're just going to go about living your life, right? So this clause around owner occupied is going to be instituted when you have a complaint. If you're noticing frequent moving in and moving out, or if you see something happening at your neighboring property that's causing you concern and disturbing your peace, that's when you're going to bring it up as an issue. But if it is illegally occupied by an owner leaving and renting it out for a long period of time, and they rent out the accessory dwelling unit and everyone lives in harmony, it's never going to come up. And there are people right now who are building things without permits in your neighborhood from time to time. There are people storing vehicles on their property that are in violation of the bylaw. Like, we do have bylaw violations all the time. It's something we don't want to encourage, but we recognize that it's the complaint in most municipalities, even large municipalities. The complaint is what drives the enforcement, not a proactive enforcement measure, because no one is resourced to that degree to be able to go around and check on people's, identification to make sure it matches the name on the deed. That's just not happening until you have a complaint.
Similarly, you could build the accessory unit and somebody could decide they want to, and they can't do this in the R1, do short-term rentals. Because that's supposed to be that is supposed to be owner occupied, not in R1, but like R2 and on. But you could potentially do that because there are people that are doing that currently.
And then it's complaint.
And then then it's still complaint based. So I don't know where we want to leave this one on it. Like, we can add it, but it still would be complaint based.
But it would give you a mechanism to enforce once the complaint is made.
So I'm fine with that.
It's the Airbnb is a good example. That's the
Yeah.
same.
Exactly. Yeah. Do we have consensus on owner occupied? For start? Okay. I don't think so on size. I think what gets complicated maybe is we need to see, well, once we come back the next time, is R1 with some of these things on them. So lot size, what the average lot size is, what's the permeable coverage, all of those things in one slide so that it's easier to see. But I think, are we at 40%? Is everybody okay with 40% of the house size for an accessory dwelling unit? 40% of the footprint.
Yeah. Or similarly, we could make a maximum if we wanted, because if you say 2,000 square feet, that could be 800 to 1,000. So you said that we could do a maximum if you were concerned that there was going to be houses larger than 2,000 square feet and you were concerned about the size.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would be helpful direction for staff and the consultants for sure. If you guys wanted to give us a direction to say, come back with a number, not a percentage. And that way we know what a 900 square foot building looks like, and we'll be able to conceptualize that.
Councilor Palmer?
What's the footprint of a full-size standard garage, like not the little garages that are up in carriageway and stuff? Those ones are up there, but if I'm going to build a full-size garage, what's the square footage of that?
I mean, I'd say about 600 square feet.
600.
Yeah, but 25 by 25, 25 by 30, 25 by 25 for a two-car garage.
So I'm going to throw out a suggestion, 40% or up to a maximum of 900 square feet.
900 square feet is my house.
Yeah.
That's the footprint of my house.
That's a pretty big.
That's a pretty big house.
That's a huge, for an accelerated,
This is, yes, but then we would, so my only caveat, that would be the biggest that I would say 40% and have to have the buffering on each side. So your lot would also have to be big enough to accommodate that with what kind of buffering. Is 10 feet enough?
I have a question.
Sure.
It sort of goes along with this. Are there any stipulations in this section, or where are the stipulations, if any, that these units, the detached ones specifically, would have to have any kind of accessibility proper accessibility upgrades? Or is that up to the builder? Is there any way to work it in that there has to be a percentage that has accessibility upgrades, or that's strictly up to the builder?
Go ahead.
Or
Do you have
or
an answer?
and would that work into the square footage of the
Um,
attached unit?
I would lean, and I'll look to Mark as well, but the building code is gonna set the standards for accessibility. Not the land use bylaw in this case. Your building code is gonna ask you for clear zones and whatnot, and there are new features coming in the Nova Scotia code right now that are asking for some more accessible standards on widths of hallways and whatnot. But for one unit, there's not going to be anything in the building code that specifies that it needs to be accessible. But because it meets the newest building code, it will not be like what we built in the 1940s or the 1980s. It will be more accessible as the world generally gets more accessible over time. So I don't want to oversell the building code, but it does do good things for accessibility. And the National Building Code is getting stronger towards accessibility as we go. Every building has to meet the building code.
Councillor Elliott.
On the 10-foot issue, side yard or whatever, looking at Sterling Avenue, 10 foot's nothing. It's nothing. Like, I don't know how you could put a buffer
Right. Yeah,
10 foot. It wouldn't
they-
do anything
right.
unless it was a giant fence.
right. Then they can't do it.
So
That's okay. Cause then, yeah, yep. I'm at least 10 feet.
Yeah.
I probably go 12. I don't, is there, so let's go back for 1 second. Overall size of the building, are we at, do we want to do 40% or are we looking at coming back with a number? With an actual square footage?
I thought your suggestion of both was
okay?
a good
Okay.
idea.
So 40% and up to, yeah, and or up to, well, it depends if you hit your max.
Don't say or, because then it's
can't be an or.
up to.
It's gotta be.
And or, yeah.
Or will not get you.
Yep, so. So what is the size of an accessory dwelling unit that we are comfortable with coming back with? 850?
I was thinking 800.
800? Yeah, okay, 850? No. Let's try 850, see what that looks like, come back with it. And then that gives us that. Parking must be on the property, not on-street parking. Do we want drawings made of our accessory dwelling units, or are we saying it's a free reign? And do we want them to be 2 stories?
I mean, I think 2 stories makes, if we're going to go up to a maximum of 850 or 900 on 1 story, that's going to be quite a long and big. So I think I'm fine with 2 stories.
But 900 square feet is the footprint, so it'd be 1,800 square feet,
Oh, no.
right? If you
No.
doubled it up.
I would recommend, and what we've seen is that you limit the square footage,
Period.
Yes.
what we call
Yeah.
the ground floor or the floor area of the building.
Oh.
So you actually count both floors.
Oh,
So you
both
can have
floors.
800 on 1 floor, you can have 800 on 2 floors,
yeah.
or 850, but you can't go over 850. And then frankly, you're gonna end up building most of them on single floors, because why are you gonna add the cost of a second floor?
So you could, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So you could be 1,600 square feet or 1,700 square feet.
No,
No,
I'm saying the
no.
opposite. You're
Okay,
limited to
good, good.
850. If you choose to put a second story in
It's
and each
still-
one's 425,
Okay.
you're
okay.
good.
Got you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, perfect, good. Consensus on that one? Yes, okay. Councillor Williams?
Well, I'll just say that has to be really well explained.
Yeah.
Because I was confused. I thought when you said footprint, I could have 2 stories
Yeah.
and therefore double it.
We're talking about regulating when we're talking about that overall footprint on the site, like Wendy started with, then we use footprint because we care about that permeable surface. Once you're talking about limiting the size of a habitable dwelling, we don't care whether it's on one story or two, but you've got two controls here. You're trying to do bedroom count and square footage. Both of those are gonna hem in the builder to a limited size, which is what PAC wanted, was to really start to limit the size of this so that you understood the scale of what you're getting.
Yeah.
So that's what we're advising you now and giving you some of that advice on how to do that. So it is floor area, and what we'll do in the bylaws, we'll have a definition of that that says this is what's included. It usually doesn't include stairwells. It doesn't include garages, but it includes any habitable space and hallways and entryways, including bathrooms and kitchens. So you'll define that in the bylaw, and we'll make sure that's clear for you.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
can I just,
yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
so, and there's where we run into problems, like this, what you just exactly what you said. It doesn't include garages. Okay, so I have a house that I don't have a garage on. I want to put auxiliary dwelling unit on it, standalone. Okay, so I want to, and you're saying 800 square feet, is that what we just said? 800 square feet? And now you're not gonna count the garage. Well, then fine, I'll build a 2-car garage on my property, and over top of it, I'll put an 800 square foot auxiliary unit, ADU.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say ADU because
Sure.
I'm tripping over
We got
that. So you're saying that would be allowed?
So we're trying to get the feedback from you guys tonight, so we go back and write it in. And what I know from all of you and what I'm hearing in the conversation is you really want to hem it in. So we're going to allow very little exception to that. Some municipalities will allow those exceptions because they don't want to get into a situation where they're having to be overly prescriptive in regulation. But if the council wishes, we can be very prescriptive and say every built square foot counts towards your 850. If you want, but it is, again, we're getting that advice from you. We're going to bring it back to you with that perspective, Councillor Pullman.
It's a really good point. I had it in my notes about garages. So
Okay.
we have existing garages.
Yeah.
With space above.
Mhm.
And there may be a desire for someone to convert that. Or it could be a 1-story garage. Someone wants to convert that. So for sure. But right now, someone could, under our existing regulations, build a 2-story garage.
Mhm.
There's no living space above, but they could have,
Mhm.
they could have a studio up there, or they could do something up there. I've been in, there's many existing in town already. So that'll be a bit of a differentiation that we need to parse out. Is there any like strong opinion on that issue? Because that will be something we have to deal with. Is existing garages or someone putting a garage in and a unit above?
So
That's their footprint.
so interesting, because I know 2 people who have rooms or like rec rooms or whatever above their garages. And to me, that would be the least invasive way of adding an accessory dwelling unit, because it has 0 impact on stormwater runoff. It has 0 impact on my life. There's no other entrance. There's no other like it is already there.
Yeah.
So that would be my only, like, if you're building a separate building in the backyard, that is, you know, to me, that is completely different than adding something above your garage.
Yeah.
It's the least invasive way to do it.
So do we have to say, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so do we have to say that if it's like a total separate ADU from the house, the maximum is 850? And then we don't have, I mean, how can you have parameters if it's over the garage and it's more than 850? Because it's not invasive. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? So like, does there have to be a distinction there? Because I typically would not have a problem of using the whole upstairs garage. It's very less invasive for everybody,
Yeah.
and it's probably already used for a rec room. They're just putting a kitchen and maybe some bedrooms. So do we need to have parameters on that?
So can you write, here's what I'm saying, because we're on R1, so we got R5 to go. Can you come back with what that would look like?
Yeah.
Thank you. And we can let that one fly. Councilor Plummer.
Maybe you just clarify something for me. So I built an ADU, a separate ADU, like a freestanding ADU. The actual storm and water connection, does it have to go to the street, or do I tie into my existing house?
Most of them would have to go to the street, but it depends. There might be situations where it doesn't.
So that's done
That's the most expensive piece of this, that we've seen people come in with a set of plans and then they realize how much it's going to cost to service it. They look into a few options and they don't do it.
and it's also the most disruptive to us because it cuts up our streets.
Yeah.
So that's really a negative to an ADU. As opposed if I put it in my house, I'm just gonna tie into my existing.
Way easier.
The only other thing I think that was on my list that I'd be curious about is, are we, I guess there was three things. So do we want to see designs of what they would look like, or is it a free for all? Because then that answers out two of my other questions were where the window placements were and the lighting. And I know you come in. My counter to that would be, if I was building an ADU, I would make sure the lighting wasn't in my bedroom, but it would go to my neighbors. So I think we better be conscientious of each other. Sorry.
The existing unit.
No, sorry. So I just want to be, it's that social impact. So whatever that looks like, let's try and mitigate that as much as we possible can. Good? Good? All right. Oh, I was trying to get on to R2. All right. Last comment on R1.
So sorry, just remind me what it costs to tie in our septic system now. We must have, I think we changed it to a flat rate, you know.
$6,300.
Okay.
Can we just get clarity on
Sure.
one mapping issue in R1? So there was a change.
Oh, yeah, sure, please. Yep.
On
Nope. On
so,
Sherwood?
so this is Sherwood.
Yeah.
This is Dale.
Yep.
And these properties that we're showing here are owned by Housing Nova Scotia, so they're
Yep.
provincially owned. They've been working on plans for this this whole set of holdings they have there, and then so those were changed from R1, and these two properties, just these two, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
These two properties.
The two right there, the pink.
Oh,
These two. I have no issue with those changing to R2.
We were.
Yeah.
That's.
And just to be clear, those are, they are R1
Right.
and are being proposed to change to R2.
Yeah. But it's in the monks between R4 and R3 at the bottom of that. I don't have any issue with that. Does anyone else?
Also, the one right next to Dale Street going down is R2.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. Anyone have any issue with that changing? The property owners are also, I think, on site. So if that's, anyone have any issues? Yes. Pardon me? Yes. Great. Yeah. Great. Yes, we're good with that, Devin. Thank you. R2. So this says council should provide direction to staff on the R2 conditions or changes that can be worked into the next version of the planning documents. So this is substantially different than the last version because we were actually putting together R2 and RLD4, which will never come out of my mouth easier. So you can see the as of right conditions there now, and then what the proposal is as of right with conditions 1 to 4. Site plan not applicable, and development agreement is a unique and site-specific cluster housing. Devin, can you tell us, just because I think most of this council has never done a development agreement. I think Wendy and I would have been the last ones to do that back in the day. Can you tell us quickly what that actually entails?
So how we're trying to set up a land use bylaw now is if we cannot set up the conditions that are clear by site plan approval or as of right, then, and it's still in the spirit of what the zone is meant to do, we would bring that to council for consideration under that unique and site specific. So that applies to many different things, but they still have to meet the intent of that zone and our municipal planning strategy policies. And often we place limits on that, whether it's height or bulk and mass of sites. The cluster housing is a holdover from our previous plan. It was something that I think people were really excited about, honestly, which is a group of small dwellings on one lot. And we have that in our existing land use bylaw.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so what are our questions, concerns, or what we'd like to see back from R2? Deputy Mayor?
So I never liked I don't love the RDL4 combined with the R2 because it's a brand new zone. It got everybody so confused until we changed it back to R2. So I do see the asterisk down there. So you have 1 to 4 units. It'll be 1 to 3 in our existing R2. So 1 to 4 in the new area, which is in the East End secondary plan. So if I'm looking at, there's 1 house on a lot in R2 and you're allowed 2 more. Are we calling them houses or are they the same as R1 to be an accessory unit? So my question is, it could be, so 1 house, then it could be like a duplex of townhouses? Okay, that's all that you'd be allowed in the existing R2.
You could have a house and a townhouse?
It's a triplex,
You could.
3
you could-
units.
So 3 units, meaning like, so
Yeah.
a lot of the R2 are just single family homes. That's where, and I've had an over an abundance of questions related to this because we scaled back so much in R1 that we didn't do as much in R2. And so the R2 people started going, what the heck is going on, right? So because in the past it was 1 to 2 units, that's what it is going to be in R1. So I get that. Plus you're allowed to have owner occupied short-term rentals there. So 1 house, so somebody lives in a house, they're allowed to build 2 more. So maybe 1 inside and 1 accessory unit. And are the accessory units the same parameters as R1?
They will be. Right now, they are not because we hadn't addressed all those parameters of the accessory unit. But appropriate, like similar parameters will be put in, whether or not they're the exact percentage and they match exactly, I think is something that we'll bring back to council as an option, but it'll be clearly articulated, like you said, to see it all in one place. If you do build that accessory unit, what conditions apply? How big can it be? How many bedrooms does it have? How do we manage impervious surface? Those things all still need to be discussed for any residential zone. So they have all the same regulatory controls outside of the R2 still exist on site plan and stormwater and all those other things. They still exist.
Okay, can I continue?
Sure.
So also in that, so you build an accessory unit and say we have the same maximum 800 or just 900 or whatever square feet. You can short-term rental that.
Yeah, I believe you can
You can
short-term.
short-term rental that, and you can also, like, if you had 2 of them, you could short-term rental both of them.
Yeah,
And so if you have 2 on your property, does 1 have to be smaller? Because how many properties are going to be able to accommodate 2 800 square foot, 900 square foot homes? Because now that becomes to me 3 homes on 1 property.
I think, I think because we're dealing with properties that might, as Jacob said earlier, like you might build from scratch. So you could build a 3-unit townhome in this as well. So there could be an iteration where there is just
No house on there though.
Right.
just 3 units. Yeah.
And
But-
in those 3 units, can you build in each one of those 3 units, can you have an accessory unit? So could you have in a townhouse, an upstairs and a downstairs, so that's 2, an upstairs and a downstairs, so that would be potentially 6? No.
Or
Okay.
3 units total on the property. That's
3 unit
what I
total
think.
property.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can I?
No, sorry.
So I wanted to just say, so I think the same parameters need to come back with R2 of saying, what is the permeable coverage? What is the lot size? What is the accessory dwelling unit sizes? All like same variables for R1 as R2, because essentially in our communities, they're not that much, it's not that much different. Aside from an accessory unit in short-term rentals. That's really
Yeah.
the only difference,
Yeah.
but they're almost all, if not all, family homes.
yeah.
So I personally, sorry, no, sorry, you go ahead because I'm talking too much.
Go ahead. Councilor Elliott. Yeah, that's good. Councilor Elliott, go for it.
Does everybody remember the perfect corner?
Yeah.
So the perfect corner was the bottom of Chestnut It was in an R2 zone. And it's a single family home. They put a unit in the basement, totally can't see it.
No.
Then they built a carport and they
Mhm.
built a bachelor on top of the
Mhm.
carport. 3 units.
Yeah.
But you don't have to build 3 units.
Yes.
You can convert to 3 units and it's quite easy on the eyes. I
Yeah.
mean, it's Nova Scotia additive architecture.
Yeah.
In my mind.
I love that
That's
term,
great.
Wendy, too, and I want to reinforce that for everyone. You're adopting, you have a bylaw now. People have rights to do lots of things on their property. They haven't done them. The conditions that have to be in place for someone to invest are quite specific. So when we adopt new bylaws, sometimes you worry about every site turning over. Even in high pressure situations like the south end of Halifax, where every R1 lot in Halifax is allowed to build 8 units. There have been 0 permits pulled in the 2 years since it was built. It's not like, I know there's the fear around this change is going to happen immediately. It doesn't. And like Councillor Elliott said, that additive architecture is what's most likely to happen. And I know growth feels fast right now, but we are still not approaching Saskatchewan and Alberta boom growth rates. This is not a place where every property flips, everything happens all at once. It will be gradual and you will see interesting things. And truthfully, you may also see some ugly things. But the beautiful things are worth some of the ugly things that will happen and the growth and the opportunity that's there for your citizens into the future, because a lot of this is going to happen after we're all dead too. Right? Like this is longer. Bylaws last a lot longer than the people in this room.
Yeah.
So we can't predict everything that's going to happen.
No, I agree. And you're right, that building is nice and I, again, though, that's 3 units inside the building, which doesn't make any difference to any of us really. And that is perfectly pleasant, I'll call it. Do you want to go ahead?
Well,
Jen?
unless somebody else wants
Does
to.
that, anyone else have a comment on it? On R2? Go ahead.
Okay.
One-
I guess my concern is with the 2 accessory, if you can build 2 accessory units and this is also short-term rentals and they're 2 bedrooms, that is potentially a lot of people coming and going from an area that's residential. I personally, it would be a large change. So I mean, I can throw it out there. I would be happy with 1 accessory unit and the other one has to be in the house. So not 2, like on the property. So if you want to have 3 per se, 1 has to be in the house and 1 outside. So I'm not in favor of 2 accessory units in R2, given the fact that we're talking about residential, that's all. So you could possibly still have 3, but the configuration of them, like, which is more in line to Wendy, because I can just picture.
It's steering more towards like a cluster housing or group dwelling with 3 dwellings. So I just, both the short-term rental and the multiple buildings on a lot, we'll bring back something that I think is.
Because then how many people are going to be able to do that when you think about buffering? And again, at least 12 feet and you're looking at the coverage.
You know that, but.
Like, so there's not going to be very many lots that can do that. So I think bring us back what those look like too, and those lists on the same page so we can see what those look like. And we can make decision points on R1 and R2 with those things combined. Councillor Palmer.
So as far as that buffering goes, so if you built 2 ADUs and a separate house, how far are we talking about the ADU being buffered from each other?
It's a great question. I want to short circuit some of this just with the fact that the bylaw does not allow more than 1 main building on a lot. And I don't believe you're allowed in your bylaw to have 2 accessory buildings. Am I wrong about that, Devin?
It's just with garages.
Yeah.
Is the.
Okay.
So, and people have sheds. So we'll bring this back.
Yeah.
Because a building is a building at the end of the day. And so we do, and there are some very large lots in R2. So we also don't want to completely rule out circumstances for certain very large properties. So yeah, let us bring back like sort of a response to that. Yeah.
Okay, great. R3. Oh, do you have something else in there?
There's
Go
some
ahead.
mapping. So I
Right, go to the
don't
map.
need to point to the mapping. If people are okay with the mapping that we presented, we don't need to, we can just keep going through these. We have some notes about the mapping.
So I want to address, oh, sorry, yes, I want to address 3 spots that I would like to have considered that are R2 in the map, that I would like them to be R1, which is what they are, even though they're R2 now, in essence, that the feeling of that space is an R1, which is what they, and then the proposal will be what it is now. That didn't make any sense.
Give us the area.
So if I look at Balcom, Balcom is an R2 zone, which is essentially what R1 will be if it changes out the way we've just described. That space, the only difference that I see between R2 and it going to R1 is the short-term rental. I'm not sure how many short-term rentals are there, if any, because most of them are single homes. So I would be interested in looking at that as an R1.
I just want to get clarity as we're going through these. So this, you're talking about this area, just to be
Yeah.
clear? Okay.
There are 2 dead-end streets, and adding that much density to that space in that area where it's flat and right next to Acadia, it will, no sidewalks, it will gentrify it.
In very poor streets too,
Just-
very poor streets.
That's my opinion. Anyone else can chime in. Yeah,
I would
Councillor Butler.
100% agree with that, please.
Yeah,
Councillor-
so that particular area down there, sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
That particular area down there, was it changed recently to R2? Like in the last bylaw, was it changed to R2? Because I know somebody who lives on Linwood and I said that we were talking about her property and she said, well, I'm R1. And she's lived there for a long time.
It was R1A and then it went to R2,
Yeah.
and that's what it is now.
That's what I want.
So I don't even know that those people down there are aware that they live in an R2.
Summer. Yes, CAO.
Just, excuse me. I just wanted to point out as well, and Devin can correct me if I'm wrong, the other important difference between R1 and R2, if this consideration is made, is in R1, none of these properties would have the ability to rezone. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Correct.
that
Yeah.
opportunity is for all of those properties would no longer be there, whereas now they do have the opportunity to rezone to other residential.
So it could be more dense.
Yeah.
Upzone.
That's from R2 on, you can do that.
Yeah.
Not R1.
We can send them a notice, but I'll be shocked because that neighborhood has reached out and I'm quite certain they'd be happy.
1, 2, 4.
So,
We're happy to look at it. We'll bring it back.
perfect.
So I should just say, like, some of these we should probably do an inventory of if there are, we would have development permit history. And some of the uses that might be in there that would be problematic would be single room occupancies with a lot of bedrooms. And there could be short-term rentals. I don't know for sure. There could be none. Or other existing multi-unit that is permitted or not permitted.
Right.
So we can bring that information back. We just sort of the bounds of the areas would help. What was the other one that you wanted to look at?
The other one that I was, the top of Westwood.
The top of Westwood.
Those are big lots, with some fairly, in my opinion, beautiful, stately, single-family homes. And the bottom of that street is unruly. I was trying to think of the right word. Maybe that's not it. But just, again, it flanks right onto the university that if anything were to change hands there, I just see again that becoming something different than what it is, and that would be just unfortunate.
Yeah, so I just want to get the bounds correct. When you say this portion, are we talking from here down or where's the, oh, sorry. Can you not see that?
Your most loses in the black one, so,
Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can. On that one, that one's hard.
Just a second.
Our 6'2" CAO will get up and point it at us. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's where, yeah, like it's really the.
We need a laser.
Simpson's daughter's building a giant place in there now.
Yep. So that's, I'm just, anyone else just agree or disagree with that? Deputy Mayor? Deputy Mayor?
Okay, I'll speak. So I just gonna play devil's advocate here for a while. I'm not opposed to that. I think it would be easier to not put so much in R2 and maybe keep it how it is there, only because I don't know who everybody lives there. So I don't know if somebody is already doing short-term rentals and this is dependent upon them. So if they bought this house in this area for that reason, then you're downsizing and that takes away income. So I'm playing devil's advocate here for
You
a
just have to
second.
grandfather in anyone who does it, and when it changes hands, it would go back to what the rules are now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
not opposed for you looking at it. I'm just playing devil's advocate. And then I'm wondering, is there any legal implications of downsizing zones when people have moved in there? And then it's not as much when you go up a level, but down a level, because people may have bought their properties dependent upon what they can do for income. That's my.
That's
concern.
something we would want to bring you. That's certainly part of the diligence of downzoning.
But we're not downzoning it. We're making it
Okay.
exactly the same as what it is now.
Well, no, because you're allowed short-term rentals in R2.
Yeah.
So R2, they're already allowed short-term rentals.
Yeah. So take it back.
I agree, take it back. I'm just playing devil's advocate here because those, like, if I think of, I don't know who lives in that area, maybe you do more. And then I'm thinking on Westwood, if we're going up Westwood, I know there was a large house that was just bought that would be R2. Are you suggesting that? Because they might have already started doing their renovations based upon what they can do already in there, right?
We haven't looked at these ones, so we would want to.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
we would want, certainly would want the information we have on file of an existing use. In my experience, changing zoning like this, we would get a legal opinion, just, it may not be an issue, just part of the
Yeah.
diligence. And then I think the only other thing to say about these ones that I've seen here is when it's limited to a single unit, and John was a big voice on this during the last plan review. What we've seen because of the high values of these properties is we still see people buying them and renting all the bedrooms out. So I think there's a correlation between our single room occupancy level, which we really need to bring back into this, just so everyone's really clear and everyone understands. Just like in R1, you can rent your house. We have limits. You can only rent, I believe it's 3 bedrooms. In R2, we say you can rent more bedrooms. In R3, et cetera. So we'll have to change that corresponding to this, and we'll bring it to you. Because that is something people do in Wolfville.
Yeah.
I think I do want to add in, I know we're spending some time here, but the R2 has this lovely cluster housing development agreement, which when you're adding that on large properties around beautiful houses that we value for their architectural character, you can see some really interesting proposals go forward. So R2, although it does allow 3 units instead of 2 units, which is a marginal increase, that DA option for cluster housing can be really interesting. And in development agreements, although many of you haven't been through it, you do get discretion. Council and the public have their chance to talk about it. There's pressure on the owner to do something interesting. So I wouldn't want to throw that out. We'll bring back that consideration when we talk about any sort of change to the zoning on these large lots.
There was another one, I believe, or no?
Yeah, I was curious about, so can you show me, maybe Wallace Place is R1? Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I was more concerned about that one, but I thought it was R2, it's R1. Perfect.
Bring those back.
Yep.
So we're not talking about right now, sorry, we're not talking about R2 going to R3. We're just talking
No,
about.
R2. Okay. Yeah. So R2, good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like the option these gentlemen are presenting of development agreements coming back.
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry.
Sorry.
It makes it, when you have a chance to talk about a proposed agreement around the table, lots of things come up, and
Right.
your willingness to do that is appreciated.
Thank you.
So just to be clear on what Jacob was saying, what we're saying is in R1, we don't accept development agreements for anything. In R2,
Mhm.
we give the opportunity to, if someone has something, we'll look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
Yep, R3. Okay, so R3 will be 1 to 8 units, site plan 8 to 16, and up to 50 with a development agreement. I see Councillor Palmer chomping at the bit. Go for it.
Well, I'm just curious, like, why did you upgrade so much of the R2 to R3? Like, for example, I'll just kind of my neighborhood, really, I guess, like down Maple Avenue, is all now R3. Or not Maple, sorry, Oak Avenue is R3 now, and it's pretty much all R3 from Brian and Lisa's place east, right? All the way along there. I mean, it's quite a stretch of R3, and that's quite a lot of
Change.
light blue on your map. And I'm pretty sure that's Brian and Lisa's place at the end of the commercial, isn't it? I think. Or I'm not sure if it's Scott's or Brian's, but it's one of the others.
Okay, put your microphone on, Councillor Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Can't hear. So why was that changed? Go ahead, from R2 to R3.
So we were looking at transitions, and we do have a larger R4 property. And when we looked at these areas, we've looked at this before, where these are some of the largest and longest lots in town. So some of them actually have almost a double road frontage on what would be Oak Avenue. And if you look at like a property like Michael Napier's, for example, where they have sort of a rear lot development happening. And what we see coming in on some of these, which is another option for people, is a potential subdivision. So this was something we wanted to discuss. The other factor that we're just bringing in is West Main Street has a similar condition with the R3 zoning. So it was something to look at in terms of this transition from zones, moving away from the RM zone. It was, was there anything else on that one? Yeah. I think that sort of speaks to it, but really it's a lot size. These are very large properties.
No.
Go ahead.
Which ones are very large? Oak Avenue, they're not very large.
They're tiny down at the bottom.
The bottom, they're not.
Those aren't big lots by any stretch of
The
the
bottom of Oak Avenue, yes. Sorry, a lot of those are fully built out. It's some of the ones with larger frontage along Main Street are the ones that I'm talking about that are large.
Yeah, okay. I'm not even debating them really about to some degree. I am.
So you're referencing, sorry, these ones right along Oak Avenue at the bottom.
Yeah, like that's like there are R2 now, and now you're talking about that whole thing being R3. That's quite a jump for those ones. I mean, so I believe, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I bought two of those houses together, you would allow me to merge those properties together. And if they're big enough, I could build, if I bought three of them, I could put 60 units down there. 50 units down there, correct?
Correct.
I mean, whatever square feet I need, I mean, by development agreement, I could put 60 units to 50 units down there.
You mean buying 3 houses, demolishing them, consolidating the property, and then putting an apartment building out? Yeah, I mean, technically that would be
those houses down there
possibility.
are relatively small houses. I mean, that's be a beautiful view. It would be a great place for if I was a developer to think about putting a 40 unit place, and that's or 50 unit place, but that's not where I think we should build one or allow one to be built.
Councillor Williams?
Those properties that are just to the north of Main Street and hit the end of Oak Avenue as labelled, there are 3. But what that map does not show is the topographic difference between Main Street and Oak Avenue. It's quite large. It's a very steep set of sections there. which is why probably nobody's tried to build on those. In fact, those that have built on there wouldn't be able to use their driveway in winter.
So can I ask, can we then, are we saying that we would like to see the ones on Oak Avenue between the where's that, I-1 over to the DT zone, if they're fully built out, leave them as R2. And then the big ones that are on Main Street can be R3, and because they are huge and they're on Main Street. Does that make better sense? Yeah, Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, and well, I guess, and then the one that goes next to, while we're right there looking at that map, is the R4. The R4 is there's two properties there, correct?
Yeah.
There's what I would call the Patterson property and the adjacent property west of it, which if we're gonna put it, I mean, that's my neighborhood, and I think that generally speaking, my neighbors are not opposed to that being a decent development in there. I think that's probably a good place for it. But the one across the street, you're doing that strictly by size. That would be the Eaton property, I guess.
Yeah.
You're doing it strictly by size, and I'm not sure the neighbors know about it, wouldn't know about that. So I guess, so I've finished my thought there, if you don't mind. So the neighbors don't know about it. They come to you and say, I want to put in, and that's bigger than my lot. So there you could put 50 units in so you could put 10 units without even telling anybody, right? Just you.
8-unit max.
So here's a question then, Devin and Jacob. So so let's clarify. So would we like to see the I-1 to the DT back to R2? If it's fully built out, they're small lots, turn it back.
Yes.
Okay, R3 along Main Street on the north side. Are we fine with those staying as R3 for potential growth in the future? Ish? Yeah, the big ones. R3 on the south side of Main Street, which is the Eaton, so that too is R3. If it stayed R2, it could be potentially, though, based on the last discussion, a really neat place for cluster housing and stuff like that on that kind of property, as opposed to being an R3 apartment building of 50 units. So I think you're hearing, unless there's some really specific logic aside from lot size, why the one on the south side of the Main Street would be upsized like that, we should leave it be.
The Eaton property to R2.
Yeah.
And the Oak, the north section of Oak, or the smaller lots, basically
Yeah.
R2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the rest can stay.
Okay.
At least at this juncture.
They'll give
Councillor-
us another version that we can look at
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Councillor Williams?
I was just going to say, having tried to mow Scott's lawn, and I know that properties on either side of him, and certainly to the east, are prone to flooding.
Yes.
And I'm not sure anybody would want to build a house there anyway.
Right. Okay. Everybody gonna be good with that iteration coming back?
Can we just clarify, like for under development agreement up to 50 units, how many square, what would you UPA?
Units per acre?
Oh, but no, but on a development, yeah, okay, what is the UPA? Thank you. Yes, an acronym. Yeah, an acronym.
Bring us back what that unit per acre is then on that, on what property are you asking for, Councillor Bowman?
Well,
On the Eaton property? Is that what you want to know what 50
well,
units per acre
maybe
is?
my property,
Okay,
the R3 in general.
well, each
So-
one is different.
So up to,
No, UPA shouldn't change.
we're not proposing to use UPA. We're proposing to say, based on lot size, based on the other R3 conditions that you would have in the zone, that if you had a large lot, you could do up to 50, but you still have to meet all the other conditions around how much of the lot you can cover, would be the biggest one, and how far setback you need to be. So that certain lots aren't going to be able to respond to even close to 50 units. That one is very large, the one that we're talking about right now.
And so what percentage of a lot can you cover with the building?
50% in all residential zones.
50%,
50%, yeah.
but we're allowed to go 3 stories.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of development logic here. Like they're gonna build the most efficient building they can. They don't have an interest in building more footprint than they need to. If they are working, you know, with standard economics and our normal 7 banks. So there is a question of what's actually gonna be built here. So I think that's important to keep in mind. The 50 is an upset limit regardless of lot size. So what happens when you regulate like this is that if you have very large lots that have road frontage, they're going to subdivide their lot to the minimum lot standard and then do multiple 50 buildings. That's something that is possible. We want to be honest and open about that. But again, these are things that when you try to control everything, you really limit the ability of people to build in your town. We think these lots are in the right spot for the growth, and that's why they're R3. We think they can hold 50 units. The servicing can handle that. So that's why they've been identified as this. And they will change the fabric of these lots. They have 1 building on them on these very large lots. So in that case, they'd probably buy it, demolish the building, and build a 50-unit building. That is likely in some of the R3s that are very large.
I would disagree with you that they're very large lots. Okay, let's just work our way from the downtown section and we go east from there. So the first one is Scott's Place, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but we're talking about the R3 between the R4 and the R1 now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because we've already decided.
Not even debating those ones.
Yeah, okay, because we've already decided that all those other ones
We're
are
only
going back to
talking about
R2.
So, yeah,
But the other ones though, we're still have upgraded them to R3 and they're only R2 right now, like the Swindons.
okay,
and-
yes, but
And all
well,
those.
we just asked that. So we said from the I1 to the DT, all went back to R2. The ones that were on the front,
Oh, for all the way back,
all the way back.
even the bigger ones.
Yes,
Even the
from there, all the way back. And then on this side would be stay R3 to the west,
Yeah.
or sorry, to the east. Sorry, nope, all right. Perfect. Counselor Williams.
I just need clarification. If you look at Oak Avenue, it suddenly becomes R3. Is that a mapping issue? Or is the actual roadway R3? Because that goes all the way around and becomes the Oak Avenue extension.
It's a mapping issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you want to go through?
There's a couple other mapping ones. Do you want
Okay,
to
let's
just
go
hit
to,
them?
yes, let's hit those.
Okay. All the way across town.
Oh, yeah.
Could I ask an R3 question just before we leave?
Okay, we're going to talk about this R3 over here
Oh, okay.
on West End. So to give us one, and then we'll come back to that question. Oh, it's okay. R3, so coming up on Hillcrest Extension, not sure what the other one is called, Jesse Jaggard, maybe?
Can I just give a context on this one?
Please.
Because this one is under a development agreement
Mm-hmm.
and you can do 4 units as we've seen them building.
Yeah.
The R2, as we brought it in, is 3 units.
Yeah.
R3 was the logical next step to deal with this area.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have had conversation with the developer that's working on the 4 unit is they had a desire where some of the sites made sense instead of doing a 4 unit townhome to do a 5 or a 6 unit townhome as they're, as they're building them. So that's the context. We needed to go one way or the other, or we keep the development agreement on.
Got ya.
Yeah.
If we downsize R2, that makes that fairly limited for them. So I would say, what's everyone's thoughts? R3 or leave on the development agreement or going up? Does anyone have a strong feeling on that one way or the other? I mean, it's not built. Hillcrest, yeah, going up to Pleasant, Skyway. Skyway above me, yeah, I live there, should know. Yeah. Anyone have any strong feelings on that? No,
Question,
okay, question, Counselor Elliott.
thinking of the petition. Oh,
Want to move forward to your mic?
sorry. Thinking of the petition that we received.
Mhm.
Is there any way to encourage a institutional development onto that R5 land at the top of the hill?
Are you getting into the
Mixed use.
mixed use?
Yeah.
Can we just,
Can we park that one to the, till we get to mixed use?
Okay,
Okay. Anyone have any objection to R3 on that land? I don't, yeah, Counselor Palmer? The fourplexes that are being built up along the top, fine. Okay. Counselor Williams?
Oh, I don't have a complaint now, but that's why I moved.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay, yep, that's fine.
next one is a portion of Willowbank Cemetery, just so we can sort
Yep.
of check these off and have the
Please, yeah.
mapping.
Well,
Is-
Bank Cemetery being rezoned. Yeah. Anyone have any issues with that? Seeing none?
Okay, and
Okay,
the last one I have on my list is the corner of Whidden and Main Street, which there's desire to do a hotel there. So similar to some of the inns and different things we have along the street, is I believe the intent, I'm just looking at,
I,
That doesn't seem like there's anything.
it's a 6 or 8 unit
Hotel.
hotel is what the desire
on the
was.
corner of, yeah,
Closer to Landmark?
right by Landmark East, sort of right there.
that makes no sense to me.
I thought exactly the same thing. I don't understand that there. I don't, right there in that corner of Main and Whidden.
This is Sterling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Point, where's the?
So there needs to be no parking or anything. I don't know how that works there, but
Currently zoned R3.
I don't see the.
it's a s-
And you want it to go to you want it to go to mixed use. That's great.
I think we're having a hard time figuring out how that would work there. So can you give us some more information and come back to that one next time? Yeah, like something of what the parking would be, like I can't even figure that out right there. It's a very small lot.
We'll bring it back.
Okay, thank you. That was R3? Sorry.
Question on that.
Oh, so you had a general question on R3.
Forget.
You remember what it was? Sorry, Shirley. Yes.
Oh, did I get the name? Because with the UPA question.
They're not using.
No. If you have it afterwards, we can send it in and have it answered. What? All right, R4? R4, medium density zones, the staff recommends that council direct staff to move forward with the option presented in the report. Let's split this proposal from RMD, a residential medium density zone into 2 medium density zones, a lower one, density zone R3 and a higher one, R4, to reduce impacts where a medium zone abuts a low density zone and encourage a more gradual transition between development of different densities through town.
This is really a mapping question where we split it up, the RM zone. And I'm not sure we can go through the entire map today. So I think what we're looking for is, are there R4 properties that you're seeing here that are raising a red flag for people that we can either bring back more information on or change today? Is that too broad of a question, or do you want me to get?
No, I think, so if anyone has any, I don't have any except for maybe one, but does anyone have any real glaring issues now, or do you want that one to come back? Oh, Counselor Williams.
My only worry is the Perry Bowles property. So it's down in the southeast next to Reservoir Park.
Mm.
You'll notice there's a little pond there called Spring Peeper Pond. I would like to see that pond remain or be incorporated into Reservoir Park.
Oh, yeah, there is a pond up there.
So that was the one piece of property that I earmarked as a potential issue for myself. It is a dead end street, a bunch of R2 places, and there's a daycare on that street. I'm not even sure if there's sidewalks on that street. There aren't. I would have to see what that would look like and what infrastructure we would need to put in place to not drastically change the safety of that street. And if the developer or whoever owns it is interested in working with us, maybe, but it's questionable. Deputy Mayor.
I do agree on that. I think in the November map, dare I bring up the November map? It was R5.
Yeah.
And then we're like, R5, that's a there's a daycare, it's a dead end street. And then when I look at R4, I mean, there is quite a different, but what is that you don't have in I would prefer it to be R3, but a unique and site specific, what possibly could go in there in that with a development agreement in R4?
In our,
If you have, so the development agreement proposed is in R4 unique to site specific.
it's, so there could be issues that council wants to negotiate or that staff can't deal with through our prescriptive requirements. That's really the unique and site specific. So we can't write regulation for absolutely every situation. They might come in with something, I don't even want to make one up, but it could be, hey, do you guys want a piece of my land for the pond? That would be a great opportunity to do a development agreement and do a site-specific land use bylaw that would include a subdivision of land. There's a million iterations of things that are very unique. We are going to define that in the land use bylaw so that there's a process associated with bringing those to council, and that it's very clear that those proposals still need to be consistent with our municipal plan and somewhat consistent with what the zone's trying to do. I think to move this along though, it seems like there's a desire on that one to look at R3. Is that?
I'm sorry.
What is it now? Sorry, I should know that. R3 now. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Jacob.
I want to note for everyone, it doesn't show up well on this map because of the granularity, but this property has access to Pleasant for a driveway. They own a sliver of property between two of the residential homes. That is, it's actually, it's both pieces that are on the map. The line's a little messed up there. And that needs to be fixed on this map so you guys can see that they do have what appears to be driveway access to Pleasant, which would change some of that issue for the smaller property. And with site plan approval, which is anything above 16 units here, you have a lot of latitude in negotiation, the retention of vegetation and other features on the site. So this bylaw did conceptualize even at R4, the idea that you have some negotiating power in site plan so you can protect things like the pond. And there is that access for this property onto Pleasant, which I think probably played into it being considered as R4. Sorry.
What would the considerations be if that was turned into a driveway? Because now people who think they have, they're basically on corner lots, even though they didn't think they were, because they have a driveway on two sides of their property.
I mean, they would know their property, right? You have to get a survey when you buy a property. I mean, unless you've inherited or owned it for 60 years, maybe you don't know, but your property lines are known to you as a landowner, and they would know that the property next to them has an easement connecting back to that large lot. It is not it is public knowledge in the truest sense of the word. It is actually your public data that you share. And when you own a property, your deed clearly articulates the bounds of your property and your neighbor's properties on your survey.
Okay, I think we need to think about that and the R4s and come back. I don't see any strong objections to anything else, but so I think in principle, we can leave them. And if anyone has a strong thought on the next iteration, we'll tackle that when it comes back. Is that okay?
Yeah, we would leave it status quo for now, and
Right.
then when we bring the full drafts, where you can see the zoning requirements.
Yeah.
If one comes up, it comes up.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. R5, the only change we made to R5 was we removed the lot we were just looking at conveniently. So that
Right.
in the previous version, that was the name that we had.
There's no difference in density. Yep. I didn't have, anyone else have an issue with that one? Okay, R5 looks okay. Yep, mixed use. So mixed use, we should clearly state our desired buffering requirements that are suitable for land zoned mixed use to reduce the impact of lighting, traffic, privacy when a commercial use is proposed. Staff are of the opinion that the revised mixed-use zone should continue to permit 3 stories by site plan, and a 4th could be considered through DA with council. Council may also look to clarify or give direction to other aspects of this zone. So we'll open it up to mixed use. Councilor Palmer.
I'll call it the Rose Lawn properties. The you've got you have an R3 in amongst the middle of all the mixed use there. Isn't that common ownership, or is it or not?
I'm not sure. Do you? No.
Or that's the Ian Wolfville. Or the old Ian Wolfville.
So the old in Wolfville is
the other one.
Is the other one.
Ah, okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Deputy Mayor?
So the main difference between MU and let's just go to the downtown or commercial is, did before, were they allowed to have short-term rentals? They had to be owner occupied, and now they're allowed short-term rentals. What is like, what is, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of difference.
Really, the MU zone, we should be calling them, it's where most of our, what we're traditionally known as inns. We're trying to simplify between, for definition's sake, there's hotels and then there's short-term rentals, which are more Airbnb in your home style. So this was where we had set up essentially hotels to be. But in our context, they're mostly Taddingstone Inn, Blomidon Inn. That's how this zone was really created, was around the inns that are in the neighborhood.
So presently it's 3 stories and 4 stories by development agreement. That's presently what we have in the MU and in that zone before it switches.
Do you know that offhand?
What is 4 stories by development agreement?
In the proposed, but what is it in the current?
In the current, yeah. In the existing, it is, yeah.
Right. So in the east end, in the MU zone that's over there along Main Street, that's where the 4th story is. The rest of them are 3 stories existing. Yeah.
So just for instance, the Blomidon Inn, they could do a 4th story by a site plan or development agreement, or they can already do it.
Development agreement.
Development agreement. Okay. And so if we were to change like the downtown core into, would that be the same for MU?
Sorry, what was the question?
If like, because we're going to be talking, sorry to jump here, but we're going to be talking about 4 stories in the downtown core, right?
Yeah.
As a site plan, and right now it would have to be a development agreement. So right now, 3 stories in this area, and you said 4 stories by development agreement.
That's
So,
what we're proposing.
so if we change the downtown, would this also affect the MU? No, it's totally different.
Downtown is completely separate.
Okay, I just was trying to get some differences, so that's fine. Thank you.
It's interesting though, because if I want to look at mixed use and 3 stories, so or possibly 4, the corner of Whidden and Main, which we just talked about, could be 4 stories.
Yeah.
Or 3 for sure.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then the one that abuts, that is the Wolfville Nursing Home on the west end of town, could be 3 stories as well. Sorry. And it can be now, so the buffering's just gotta be really, really good.
So is the biggest takeaway you want to see in the regulations enhanced buffering in these areas
Yeah.
for new construction or expansions or, okay.
Yeah, anything at all. Like, it's gotta be really, again, it's that social impact on your neighbors of. Counselor Palmer?
Well, in talking about the elms there, like you're taking that long strip and switching it to mixed use, and we certainly have heard a lot of noise about that. I mean, the neighbors aren't happy about that, so I'm not sure about that either, to be honest. Like, you're taking somebody's backyard where they bought with a residential property in their backyard, and they're converting it. I'm not 100% sure about that.
That's why I'm saying either the buffer has to be really good, but my question on that one is this too, to further to Councilor Palmer's, is if that is a site plan and it's a mixed use, the most that can be on that property is 60 units, according to this thing. So 120 bed old age home or palliative care, whatever, long-term care facility cannot be built there because the maximum it can have is 60 units.
Yeah.
According to that chart.
Yeah.
Because but a
Chris-
unit is a unit. In my opinion, a unit is a unit. If you have someone living in a unit, it's a unit. So 60 units.
We can take that back and clarify definitions around nursing care, because it is, I know with provincial definitions that they're evolving with as well. I think we would just want to clarify with how people are looking at that.
So yes, because that would be a distinct difference then on what we decide should be mixed use, should it be 3 stories, and what will fit, because.
Yeah, and what's a unit and what's a bedroom?
Right,
Yes, yes.
right,
That's crucial.
crucial.
I think, just to be honest about this one, from my perspective anyway, is I'm dealing with a couple of other files like this, where there is remnant land that someone owns, that people back onto, and the nursing home does own that strip of land. And so really the rationalization of the zoning for an expanded use, from their perspective, obviously makes sense. I think for all of the people that back onto that, I think if they wanted that additional buffer, I think there is also the opportunity for them to approach the owner and purchase that strip of land, because it is conveniently divided north-south. And I know other areas of town that people are coming together to look at situations like that. The other thing to think about is, even if it does remain R2, someone is still allowed to use their land for certain things, right? And we wouldn't, we don't have infinite control over the land. So I think getting the buffering right, and or if there is a desire for like actual tenure of land to be traded hands there, I think that would be an effective tool for the people concerned. But keep in mind, they also own this long strip up here as well. All the way up to.
The one behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and again, accessory use to what they're doing up there, whether it be parking or otherwise, are things that would be in the realm of possible when we're talking about a facility like that. So I just want to be clear. I think we can bring back conditions, but they might not respond. Like, there's a lot of variety in the MU zone. Because I just went through multiple year expansion of the Tatting Stone. Which also has neighbors on all sides, which also had a heritage overlay and a lot of other issues. And that was done, I think, very well. So I think these things can expand, and we need to have flexibility for a lot of variety in that zone.
Yeah.
While I don't believe there's any conflict, given there's no decision point, nor would I be participating in a decision anyway. I think it is also important to disclose that my personal property abuts on that property. So just to put that on the public record.
So I think for me on that, on all mixed, not just that one, all of them is buffering, get it right. Let's make sure everyone has peace. So I can't actually promise that. But let's try. Our mixed use, what's after mixed use? Oh, we do have site specific on mixed use?
But I think there's some question being asked about the one that we were going to look at, which was at Whidden. So
Yeah.
we're just going to put a question mark asterisk beside that one.
Yeah.
And just look at, because there's that's an existing R3 property.
Yeah.
So
You could do it.
Yeah.
You can already do it on there. You can already do it. 40 units, not 8. If you do.
Yeah, I guess it would be interesting to see what the size and scale of that lot and what could actually be on it. I mean, it is right as soon as you come into town. I would assume that, and we haven't got there yet, but is that parcel to our design guidelines?
So they can, it's within design guidelines, so it would have
Perfect.
an extensive review, more than any other property in that area. And it can already do 8 units. It's a R3 now.
Yeah.
But if there's more information needed on that one, we don't need to.
Okay. Site-specific zoning for downtown council should provide direction to staff on specific conditions that can be worked into the next version of the planning documents if they would like changes beyond these revisions.
This one, I'm mostly looking for the boundary of the downtown feedback, not building height. We're about to get to.
Yeah.
So if we can just look at the boundary, and if you want to talk about the overlays, the rail line might be something people want to talk about here too.
We're coming up to 8:07. We are at 8:07. So I think we're at 8:30. We're kind of gonna have a max out. But so let's talk about at least the boundaries of the downtown zone. And is everybody happy with that? Maybe we'll take back height and rail line because those two might be, again, beefy. Not that the others weren't, but they will be just as. So does anyone have any issue with the downtown, the recommendation? This was not on the list from PAC. They were quite content with there was nobody who brought it up. So is everybody fine with the red that is there now? It has expanded. Is everybody okay? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. I heard loud and clear at the open house that people who have single-family homes on Gasbro Avenue don't want the downtown to go further south than Acadia Street. And this shows quite a few other properties would be on that. So I'm just passing on what I heard.
On the right-hand side or in the, okay. Councillor Palmer.
Well, it may just be a simple thing as boundaries, but you've got the Baptist church inside the downtown. Is that just because you use Main and Highland? Is that why it's in
the Baptist church has been zoned downtown or commercial through the last plan review as well.
Devin, can you flip over to the zoning map?
Yes. Get this in the middle. Does that help?
So right where that DT is, that's the Oddfellows home, or Oddfellows Lodge, correct?
On the corner. there.
On the
Yeah.
corner
Yeah.
of Gasbro and
Yeah.
Hunter, or Winter.
Winter.
One, two, 4 lots, 5 lots.
Well, as I understand it.
Put your mic on. Yeah, just use your mics, please. So so does anyone have any issues with the Councillor Elliott raised that those ones going up Gasbro? Councillor Williams?
Yeah, I had someone bend my ear for some time at one of the workshops, saying that they did want the downtown to come that far south on that east side.
Can anyone enlighten me as to what the logic of that reasoning was? Aside, like, what would change? The dynamic of those? Was there a reason for what, aside from, was there a reason given or just?
I don't
not
think
a-
we circled them and said, here's why I think it was trying to get
More
as
protect- yeah.
as many commercial properties because of, we have hardly any commercial properties right now. Yeah.
And I think I'm asking Councillor Williams and Councillor Elliott, was there, like, am I missing something? Because I didn't hear that. So what was the reasoning that it wouldn't want to be changed over?
Well, if you live in a single family home, 2 blocks away from the grocery store,
Mhm.
do you want a convenience store next to you?
Mm.
That was the rationale I was given. It's just not that far downtown.
Seem to recall that somebody wanted, well, the owner of the house wanted to be able to do more with it than they apparently could. And also that last most southerly block, wasn't that an old Masonic building?
Yeah, yeah.
And wasn't there somebody wanting to do something interesting with that?
Maybe. Okay. I don't have a strong objection one way or the other, so, I'm not hearing a resounding, let's change it.
So,
Councillor Pominant?
well, I just, maybe for my own clarification, so if it's zoned downtown, I could in theory I could build 3 stories or 4 stories, correct? That's what we're talking, well, I know we don't want to talk about height here,
Yeah.
but we're kicking around the idea of 4 stories, but that would be downtown, so you'd be able to build, if we do go with 4, it would be 4. What couldn't I do if it's in the downtown section? Then that would be like going backwards, like, what about the other properties that we're talking about expanding up there? Is there some reason that they might not want, because there's a couple of, as we head north, like if we go to the Oddfellows home, was it Oddfellows? No. Masonic, whatever,
Masonic.
but if we go north from there, there's a couple of smaller houses. And then looks like there's one big property. I'm not even sure, but that DT is perfectly in the wrong spot.
So can I ask this question then perhaps? There's nowhere in our package that I noticed that I could see that said what the DT allowed for or not. So maybe we need that and then we can say whether we agree or disagree with the boundaries of the downtown zone. At the moment, I don't see any issue, but until I see exactly what would prohibit or blow up some, like, make that really expansive on that piece of property, I can't make a decision.
So I guess the other thing to think about, and we'll bring this back to you, but if you see this map in the bottom right here, the properties we're talking about they're new downtown properties. And so we were creating an overlay on them with special conditions. And so that's what I think you'll want to pay attention to when we bring
Okay.
it back.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
That's fair. And they're in the draft land use bylaw, the conditions on area A. So it talks about what can be done there. They do not, those properties do not have the same rights as your main street and your front street properties. They're very different.
Okay,
So that's what those overlays are intended to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
so let's see those. I think what you're hearing from us is that all great information, but until you see the map, the R1, what you can do, what it was and what's next, it's really hard to flip from one page to the other and keep it all straight amongst 7 different zones until you see it on one page or 2 pages that you can have. I think that would clarify it. We could probably be a little more succinct in the things that resonate with us. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay, Councillor Elliott?
Yeah, does it make a difference to what you can put as downtown if it's got heritage designation? Because I think one of those houses is.
Yeah, the heritage properties would have basically have a separate process, the ones that are registered. And we have that now. I mean, the Tatting Stone went through a significant process because it's a registered property.
Right.
So any change beyond a certain scale.
And what is next on that list then, Devin? Neighborhood commercial, do we want to get into this or is everybody spent? I can see tired faces, but one more?
I mean, there's a few other questions within this zone that might be worth showing. Just
Okay.
getting clarity on the rail line might be helpful. If there's any questions still about that, or
I think the rail line is going to be a bigger discussion, so I think we should leave that one.
okay.
Yeah, that's important to us, so I think we should not put that one at right now. Why don't we then just say that's the space we're gonna end? We can come back with height. Neighborhood zones? We just did the downtown. You want to do neighborhood? Neighborhood commercial? Okay, anyone have any issues with neighborhood? I mean, I didn't, so but does anyone else have this one says council should provide direction to staff on any specific considerations related to neighborhood commercial, use the table overlay and zones that can be addressed in the next version of the planning documents. Well, I guess we need the overlay on there to say what it is. It might be bigger than you think.
So this is basically saying that people would have some type of limited commercial development rights within these areas. And so that would be beyond a home-based business. And within the tables that we provided, there's examples of the types of businesses. So really, as long if we're generally comfortable, anything didn't stand out completely, we can integrate that into the new documents. That would be a step forward for sure.
Yeah, it's pages 28 and 29 in the staff report. There's
Yeah.
2 tables that outline it. Focus our attention to daycares, laundromats, home-based business being acceptable in R2. The only thing acceptable in R1 is a home-based business or a home occupation.
This.
Request for decision.
29.
Yeah, thanks, Devin.
So the only one I wondered about was, I think the only one that I had circled was you can put a laundromat in R2.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That was a weird one for me.
Yeah, laundromat in R2.
No laundromats.
Laundromats are needed, but I don't know about an R2. Other than, I mean, I didn't mind an R3 or 4 or 5. I'm sure there's in higher density buildings, if there was a side laundromat, I probably wouldn't mind it, but an R2 seemed strange.
And then the neighborhood cafe in R2.
This.
That seems weird too. Right here.
Mm.
That seems weird.
But it's really tiny.
120 meters. How many square feet is that?
But why would you put one?
But it's R2
It's like,
only
yeah.
on these properties that you see here on certain streets.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
that's where the
Yeah,
tables
fine.
correspond,
Yeah,
right?
that's fine. Yeah.
So just on the main corridors.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same as the laundromat.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
same as the laundromat.
That's only
Fair.
on those properties that are blue.
Got it. Okay, yep,
So we'll leave that for now as their general comfort. Okay.
Good. yeah. Or,
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment that I'm glad to see that all those neighbourhood zones, commercial zones are well above sea level. And when there is an eventual requirement to retreat from Main Street, they could be really useful.
okay, so I think we're good with neighborhood commercial zones, yeah,
So are we?
done.
Was there anything else on the downtown? Sorry, was there anything else relatively minor on the downtown zone, not height or anything that you wanted to cover off?
Well, it would be helpful even if there's just some, what would be helpful to bring you on the rail line, because that's a key part of the downtown. And the waterfront area is included in that. Really, it's just these overlays that we're showing in the downtown. If there's more information today that you could, or if each one is kind of spelled out for you, is that really what you're asking?
Yeah.
Build it up.
Yeah. I think we need some background on, because this came in pretty much at the very last of the PAC meeting, and there wasn't a whole lot of I know you said that the planning staff has been working on it for years, and Vincent was here, that's great. But we didn't know not saying anything about it, but we just didn't have that background and that comfortness
Okay.
with it. So we need something to give us to
I'll walk you
what's
through
been
it.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we walk us
That's
through
what
it,
you
then,
want.
yeah,
Great.
yeah, we need some information. Yeah,
Here,
go
can I
ahead.
just ask a clarification question for me, because I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and it's specifically about a property, the subway property. And it's owned by the university, and I think it's zoned institutional right now.
No, it's downtown.
It's downtown.
Well, yeah, so which one overrides which? But I think but it's owned by Acadia. So right now, if we said 4 stories for downtown, that's what it'd be limited to?
Correct.
Okay, we got through a good amount tonight. Appreciate everybody's input and coming prepared with all of those questions, and staff have enough and Jacob have enough to go back and come back with the next iteration. And will we be adding this to our December 16th council meeting to go through the remaining topics?
I think that would be very feasible. I'm just looking at how many are left. Some of them are, I would think, are a bit lighter. And so I think there's definitely a couple that are going to require some time. Yeah.
December 16th council will be what we just had from committee of the whole, yesterday. Feels like a long time ago. So it should be relatively light.
Yeah, we'll chat with planning staff. That's the working premise, is that we'll bring something to you on the 16th, but we'll also have to just go through between now and next this coming Tuesday, when we have to circulate the package, what's feasible to include in that 16th agenda. So that'll be our working premise, is to bring it on the 16th.
Okay, wonderful. Great. Thank you, everyone. I don't think there's a motion to be had. I think this is just direction until we get to the end of
Entertain
this.
the motion on the 16th.
I think on the 16th.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for a motion. Anybody else? Okay, good. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. Thank you, staff, Jacob, for all the work to get us here. Appreciate. Seeing no further business on our agenda, our meeting is adjourned.
who are